women, children, sick people, locked in as animals. It's not a threat. It's a fair worry that where are we headed? This is a test for the United Nations. You are the one who guaranteed the people of Kashmir the right of self-determination.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to the special transmission of PTV World and World this morning on Kashmir Siege Day, or also known as Yom-e-Istisal. I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and with me I have Shiza Hashmi. Ladies and gentlemen, just a few moments ago, the President of Pakistan, Mr. Arif Alvi, was actually talking to the media, and he said after the solidarity walk that whatever is actually going on with our Kashmiri brethren, it's something which is not acceptable. They were stripped of their rights. For example, we talk about the Article 370 and the 35A as well. Not just that, they were being, there were hundreds and thousands of freedom fighters and Kashmiri brethren who were being murdered, who were being martyred, in fact, who were being tortured. They were pellet guns attacked, people were blinded, and then their rights were stripped off. And not just that, he said that, we went to United Nations and we trusted in them as well, but it looks like as if they have turned a blind eye towards this very issue, and we won't let that happen. So no matter what happens, the struggle is going to go on, because the Kashmiri inside me, the Kashmiri inside all of us is actually not going to sit quietly. But Definitely. Not just that, even the President Arif Alvi Saab was accompanied by the Foreign Minister, by the Information Minister, by the Chairman Kashmir Committee as well, by the Interior Minister, and it showed solidarity. Not just that, there was 1 minute silence, and we prayed for all the martyrs of the Indian illegally occupied Jammu Kashmir.
Definitely, and Shahzad, where you said that from our heart, we're all Kashmiris. So this cause particularly is very, very close to our heart, and I think at this moment, I feel a little blessed to have this platform, because my voice right now is going to go out to more than 46 different countries. So to begin with, I think I'm going to take this moment to explain to hundreds of thousands of people who often, probably because of negligence or just generally, do not understand the dispute at all. It is not a matter of land for some. It's literally not just adding the beautiful mountains to Pakistan or adding them to just India. It was a promise that has not yet been fulfilled. It's been more than 70 decades. And I am just imagining the kind of frustration a general human being does get when the promise is not fulfilled, Shahzad. So we're fighting for separation, all of us together, on the basis of the two-nation theory. That is our foundation of separation. And just on that basis, the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir was not given to Pakistan, although majority of Muslims live there, which is why ever since then, until date, the struggle or the struggle for freedom is going on, because, well, that was the promise. It never came to fruition as well. And now that it's been more than 70 years, Shahzad, you have been mentioning about the atrocities going on in the illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir as well, but specifically for the past 2 years now, today that we are marking the 2nd anniversary of the illegal occupation and siege there as well. Just this morning, I was going through Twitter and reading some of the latest tweets from people living from within the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. To begin with, first of all, there were only a few, 3 to 4, that's it, because we know that ever since 5th August happened 2 years back, communications blackout happened. And just this year, it was reported in the Indian news that communication services have been resumed. But, well, it's their media, and we do not believe that, because we do not see the Kashmiris living in siege actually practicing any sort of freedom or actually having the opportunity to communicate with the outer world. Anyway, so whatever they did post on their social media, for the ones who do have access to it, had a lot to do about their grievances about the promises again, Shahzad, because even 2 years back, excuse my throat, even 2 years back when this day happened, the BJP-driven Modi government said, we are only doing this for, well, of course, making the demographics better, but giving you opportunities and giving you the things you deserve, education, job, whatnot, and open access to India as well, so that, well, of course, you feel like Indians. But Kashmiris say that is false, that is a lie, because even after 2 years, not even one of them can say they were given the promised opportunities. So they don't even we are confused like them, right? So I just don't know. My heart breaks talking about it, and there's just a lot to say. I really want to sort of not take a lot of time over here, because the panel of guests we have, ladies and gentlemen, is definitely going to do justice to what we are going to talk about.
Exactly, and very quickly, Shiza, I think that it will be very apt to kind of mention that this is the RSS-inspired Bharatiya Janata Party who actually been showing,
fascists,
in fact, putting in, the seeds of hatred as well, not just, in the hearts of people who are actually within the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, but over in Pakistan and world over. And, if we start to talk about human rights violation, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to take us a lot of time as well, but we want to keep it short. We want everybody to kind of learn that for the last 2 years, they have been under a complete blackout. There's a complete blockade. No human rights are actually being provided to all of those people who reside over there as well. And not just that, I think that there needs to be this correlation that imagine that ever since COVID breakout, the entire world has been under a lockdown as well. So imagine that, while you were in quarantine, how you felt. So that's exactly what people of the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir are feeling for the last 2 years, and we really need to be their voice. Number two, now imagine that, when we speak about Azad Jammu Kashmir, ladies and gentlemen, from tomorrow onwards, Kashmir Premier League is going to take place over there. They have their independent parliament, they have their own decisions, and all the matches are going to take place over there within Muzaffarabad, because the hashtag says, or the slogan says, Khelo Azadi Se. And that's the kind of Azadi we're talking about.
Definitely.
We actually have a small report to share with you guys. Take a look. Once you guys will come back, we will introduce our amazing guests with you, and let's see what they have to say about the situation within the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir.
Let's do it.
As Kashmiris fought the Indian occupation of their valley, Modi, a novice at politics at that time, circled around the Indian occupied territory like a vulture. Since then, Modi has come a long way, riding on the bloodthirsty Hindutva wave and committing a massacre of Muslims along the way in Gujarat. Modi, on August 5, 2019, buried his teeth into the flesh of Kashmiris. As an occupied territory, Indian occupied Kashmir had special status. As a recognized disputed territory, both India and Pakistan have to follow certain international laws, and Kashmir still remains an unresolved dispute in the United Nations. Special status of Indian occupied Kashmir was guaranteed under Article 370 of Indian Constitution. The valley had its own constitution, and Indian Parliament could not make any laws for the state. This special status could not be withdrawn until the Kashmiris decide their fate through a plebiscite. Bharatiya Janata Party under Modi came into power in New Delhi on the promise to abrogate the special status of occupied valley. They didn't stop here. Modi also revoked Article 35A of the Indian Constitution in order to change the demography of the Muslim majority territory. Right before New Delhi's planned unilateral and unlawful integration of the occupied territory, India turned the entire occupied Kashmir into world's largest prison. With massive deployment of army, India blocked all means of communication in the valley. The basic rights of Kashmiris were suspended, and they remain suspended to this day. At this time, when the voices of Kashmiris were gagged and blocked from reaching outside the occupied valley, Prime Minister Imran Khan became the most vocal support for Kashmiris suffering at the hands of New Delhi. Imran Khan during this time raised the issue of Kashmir at all international forums. He became the voice for Kashmiris like no other, and helped the atrocities of Indian forces to become global headlines.
What sort of a mindset would lay siege to 8 million people with 900,000 troops? Women, children, sick people, locked in. This is the time to take action. And number one action must be that India must lift this inhuman curfew.
The Hindutva blinded Modi. What he thought would be an easy ride to take away the special status of Kashmir has slowly turned into a nightmare for New Delhi. India seems less sure of its future steps. While rescinding the special status of Kashmir, India put all pro-New Delhi politicians of the occupied valley under arrest, and Kashmiris just cannot trust India anymore. That is the reason Indian forces have utterly failed to stop Kashmiris from protesting despite heavy military deployment. Along with internal factors going against the Modi wishes, actions of August 5 also.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was a comprehensive report on what has actually happened in the last 2 years. Well, not just in the last 2 years, but for the last 70 years as well. But without any further ado, we would actually like to kind of hear the voice of the Kashmiris as well, because we have people who represent all of those people within the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir as well. So without any further ado, we are lucky that we've actually been joined by the Chairman, Kashmir Institute of International Relations, Altaf Hussain Wani Sahab. Hello sir, Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for joining us. And alongside Altaf Hussain Wani Sahab, ladies and gentlemen, we're lucky that we've actually been joined by a journalist. With us today, he happens to be Hussain Thebo. Assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Thank you
Very much for joining us. So Wani Sahab, we'll start with you. How's the situation and how do you think that the people of India illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir are surviving while they have been ripped off of every human right they actually has or possess?
You see, Shazad, it's not for last 2 years, but it has been for last 74 years that people of Jammu and Kashmir have been ripped off all their rights. And from last 33 years, we have seen a bloodbath in Kashmir unleashed by the Indian occupation forces, killing over 100,000 people, over 10,000 people have disappeared, and so on and so forth. I can't count on the data how many people have been killed. But what happened on the August 5th, 2019, the Modi government embarked on the double doctrine. The first and foremost thing was to debase and discredit the Kashmiri leadership. All the Kashmiri leadership was involved in different cases. They framed different false cases against them and then put them behind the bars. And they were taken away to in India, in Tihar jail and different jails in India. It started with that, and then they tried to dilute the Kashmir's identity and delegitimize Kashmir's freedom struggle. As you have heard about it, that most of the propaganda of Indian media and Indian foreign missions all over the world was to delegitimize the Kashmir's freedom struggle. Doing all that, on 5th of August, they laid a huge siege in Kashmir, as we know, already having more than 700,000 troops. They landed 80,000 more troops in the Kashmir, and then had a total calm down, blanket impunity to the forces, and a total information black hole in Kashmir, communication blockade, internet shutdowns, and all that. It went on long for months and years past now. So what they did in this, what main purpose of this, as we have been discussing, was to make a demographic shift in the Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. They changed the domicile laws in Kashmir, and by virtue of that, they give the authority to the Indians that they can buy land, they can acquire job in Kashmir, immovable property in Kashmir, and by that way, till date, 3.4 million Indians have been given, have applied for this, and more have, because the Tahsildars have been asked to issue a domicile certificate within 15 days. If they fail to issue a certificate, they will be fined 50,000 rupees. So as a fast track mechanization by the Indians to change the demography of Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. It's not the only thing. On the other hand, they gave the authority to the Indian army to acquire any land and declare it strategic. And they can take away the townships, they can take away the villages by declaring them as strategic for them to create more cantonments and housing society for the Indian army. This is a style of land grab they are taking. Already 4.3 lakh canals of land is under control of Indian Army in occupied Kashmir. Now more and more land Indian Army will be taking in Kashmir. For that purpose, they have not to take any NOC from any of the departments in Kashmir. Now, along with that, the language, they have changed the language in Kashmir. Now Urdu is no more the official language in Kashmir. Hindi has replaced it as official language in Kashmir.
True.
So the mechanization is on different fronts, and on the political front, they tried to create some new political structures in order to replace the old ones, in order to have more and more influence in Kashmir through their Hindutva agenda in Kashmir. By doing that, on the top of it, all the Muslims who were at the top government offices, they have been removed from their posts. Now, there are all the secretaries, directors, or SSPs, or even now to the DSP level, district level, below the district level. Now you can see the officers are coming from the mainland India. They are the Indians who are now ruling the people of Kashmir. The Kashmiris have been thrown out. Now, on the top of it, the another thing which they have done is that now they are censoring the whole social media and all these things.
Right.
Now, any of the government employee, if he or she posts anything on the social media and without any inquiry, he is being thrown out of the job. So this is another thing. And recently, I tell you one small incident. A boy wrote a post on the social media about a deputy commissioner in Ganerbal that she was not friendly.
Okay.
The other day, and the boy was called to the DC office, and police was ordered to arrest the boy. It was only after a huge protest by the civil society on that and intervention by others that the boy was released. So they are now micromanagement is taking place on behalf of the Indian agencies in Kashmir affairs in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir.
Definitely. And this is state-sponsored terrorism.
This is state-sponsored. Along with it, from 5th August 2019 till date, more than 461 Kashmiris were killed. Siege and search operations continue over there. 79 Kashmiris were killed in extrajudicial executions, were in custody, and you have heard about it. Muhammad Ashraf Serai, a well-known Kashmiri leader, he was imprisoned, he was ailing, but he was not taken to the hospital. Only after he was about to die, he was thrown in the hospital and declared COVID positive. And that was, in a way, you can say that was an extrajudicial execution, execution under custody.
It is, definitely.
And during this period, there are 7 to 8 cases which came to limelight and which were reported by the different press and also reported by the UN Special Rapporteurs, the Government of India, that how these extrajudicial executions or fake encounters take place and why there is no inquiry for that.
Definitely.
So this is all happening in Kashmir. I will go with a quote of a Kashmiri leader that the way the Kashmiris are dealing with the Indians, it is dancing in a wolf's mouth. While dancing in a wolf's mouth, they do not allow the beast to swallow them, but their cries should be heard. But their cries should be heard. But when they smile in desertion, look, they don't smile. They actually, their smile says that that is alienation, that is that's total disregard for the Indians and all that, and for also for the looking for the international community how they are mute on what is happening in Kashmir.
Definitely. And Vani Sahab, you very rightly actually explained the entire situation going on over there. And just listening to you, and I think people outside of Kashmir and India and Pakistan as well, looking at the situation, they do realize this is definitely illegal. It's ethnic cleansing, ladies and gentlemen. And I think we as humans, we are waiting for it to happen. We are waiting for a Holocaust to happen so that after that we can condemn it. Oh, I'm so sad it happened. Because we're not really making any noise other than, of course, Pakistanis themselves or the Prime Minister. But now, coming to you, Tebo Saab, Vani Saab did mention how this is a political disempowerment for the Kashmiris themselves, and where he mentioned all the posts are now being led by Hindus themselves. Let's talk about the secular India that is being sold every day to the international community.
First of all, we may go to the little bit in history, what is about the Kashmir.
Please.
Initially, you have stated in your intro that princely state, there was a majority of Muslim peoples. It was supposed to be a part of Pakistan.
Yes.
Indian illegally imposed the 370 and 35A, which was the major aim of the citizen of Kashmir and Pakistani people that remove this act.
Okay.
35A and 370. We have approached UN. UN issued the large number of resolution about it. First of all, they have issued the resolution plebiscite. Let Kashmiri people allow to do whatever they want to do. Indian refused. Indian people are sincerely, when we were talking with us, They are against their state, they are against their state policy, what they are doing. In fact, presently RSS and BJP is the nexus of Hindutva.
Yes.
And they if you go to the history in 1920, RSS is a terrorist organization.
Definitely.
They are against the Muslim. Now Modi is a fascist. Modi is a criminal. Modi is a large number of times our Prime Minister asked the international media, asked the India, we can't fight with each other. If we grow, a country can't grow. We can grow as a region. Large number of our state has talked to the Indian people that we can't grow as an individually state. We must have to take the action for a region. But unfortunately, the slogan of Indian BJP and RSS and Modi is against the Pakistan.
Right.
They don't have any thing to show their people. Only this is the against policy of Pakistan. We are against the Pakistan. They are planted the fake operations and killing our birds and return back. So it is very unfortunate. India is a now it's a good thing in also India. They are developing themselves in a sector of IT and some other things. But this policy is totally against the region. And first of all, UN has to interfere in these circumstances to see what is happening, especially from 5 August 2019. They were thinking that especially Mehbooba Mufti, Farooq Abdullah and their supporters will support the Indian this act, but they also refuse. They are illegally still in a jail. It's like a curfew. So this is a time. A few minutes ago, I have also watched the president and spokesperson. They clearly asked that we don't want to fight with each other. Now, world is an electronics global village.
Yeah.
We can't go on a horse and sorrow and to fight. Now, war is in a push the button.
Exactly.
We both, India and Pakistan, we are a nuclear state. You must have, Mr. Modi, must have to understand the things. What will happen if there will be any sort of fight? Then region will collapse.
I mean, I'm still surprised how you calling him Mr. Modi. I don't think that he actually deserves to be called Mr. as well. But ladies and gentlemen, this Hindutva has been prevailing and this is the mindset of Modi as well.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that. But not just that, I think that the Kashmiris have actually kind of disagreed with all the unconstitutional and unilateral measures taken by the Indian as well. But at the same time, I think I would love to appreciate the way our Prime Minister Imran Khan has made sure that he's going to go on to every international forum and talk about how human rights have been stripped off and violated in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. But as we speak of it, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's about time that we kind of take a look at how life is in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir as well. So please go ahead, take a look, and once you guys will come back, we'll come down towards where we need to know that, okay, what possible solutions do we have on the table for the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir?
Well, these are just some of the visuals, of course, of what is going on over there in the illegally occupied region of Jammu and Kashmir as well. Very quickly, since we're short on time, I want to touch upon a lot of things, Shahzad. So let's try to do that. Vani Saab, I'm taking Tebu Saab's few words where he mentioned that this is where the UN has to come and intervene. But is it so? Because when we look at the structure of the UN itself, I feel like the Security Council, the inception of Security Council is an inhibition. It inhibits actually, reaching to the better decisions as well with all the power they have. So UN as an organization cannot autonomously come and say, do this. So what do we do?
You see, the responsibility lies on the UN as an organization.
Just to talk to.
As to talk to and to intervene, because UN is an organization which has been created for the peaceful and just solution of the internal of the matters, of the disputes. But at the top of it is the Security Council. But unfortunately, we see the Security Council in a different, is a polarized one, and some people support some things, they are biased in different things. But one thing which has recently emerged in this dispute is that now China has become an active partner in this dispute.
Oh, yes.
In the Security Council. So, in one way or the other way, Security Council will have to take up the matter because China is an active partner and that's the Security Council member.
All it took them was a few slaps.
Oh, that's it. So, that's, you see, the other thing is that when we say the UN and other mechanisms, we have seen the people are talking about the violations in Kashmir. People have been talking about it, and people have been writing about it, and people have been raising the voice about it. But the countries, the governments, they are lacking their will to say something because they have altered all those human values with what they have, the economic values.
And even UN themselves published the report.
Yeah,
with all
the UN published report. In you see the State Department published report, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office published the report. Everybody says what is happening in Kashmir, and clearly there is an incitement against India in those reports. But when it comes to their policy making, they see their economic interests, they see their strategical interests. Unfortunately, they don't value the human rights. They don't value those decisions just taken. That's why we see more and more conflicts in the world because of this duplicity of these international powers, what they are doing. But let me remind all of them and all the neighbors here in subcontinent that there cannot be peace in the region until and unless the Kashmir is resolved.
Definitely.
The people of Kashmir have fought for last 74 years for their rights celebration. What each and every, whatever India is doing, people of Kashmir have not recognized India with all their military might, with all their, what you were discussing, that they are, they came with the development, we will do the development, we will give the rights and all that.
Nothing was done.
You see 200 MOUs were signed by Modi government with different so-called consortiums that they will come to the Indian occupied Kashmir and they will do this. But none of them has materialized because nobody is so fool that he will invest in a conflict zone. So I see that there is a writing wall for the Modi government, for the BJP, for the RSS. They have to see the ground realities that Kashmiris are not coming to their submission.
Definitely.
Pakistan is there. Pakistan has time and again said that until and unless they go back to the August 5th position, we will not talk. That's a very, this narrative should come in, and we should keep on telling the world that these demographic changes are not acceptable. All what India has done, this is not acceptable to Pakistan, to the people of Kashmir. People of Kashmir have already rejected it.
Definitely.
Exactly.
It is
and
illegal,
to the people
indeed.
of the rest of the world as well, ladies and gentlemen. But towards the end, I'll move on to Hussain Saab over here, where Hussain Saab, we certainly know that, this is the RSS-inspired BJP. Not just that, I have another incident where the India's cricket board has actually had to contact the ICC to kind of tell the relevant members that, okay, no player should actually be allowed to come down to Azad Jammu Kashmir to play or participate in Kashmir Premier League. So it definitely talks about their mindset as well. But towards the end, what will be your message, and how do you think that we need to take this fight or this struggle forward ahead so that, inshallah, in days to come, we see that people of the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir live the life the way we live?
Before conclusion, I must say one thing. Now, world is in a general store like a Walmart. Every person, every country wants to sell and purchase their items. People are want to sell their oil. People are want to sell their fabrics.
Weapons.
Now, the region, religion and caste and other things makes no matter. But OIC, especially, I would like to request OIC to seriously think about it. Oil will not remain forever. If you are not thinking like a terrorist Modi who is creating trouble, your shop will be destroyed. Your shop will be burned, which you are thinking that this is like a general store, Walmart. and you want to sell your atoms, you want to purchase your things. Now world is in electronics global village. We seriously think about it. The terrorism, the fascist, the Modi's regime will know more here, and OIC must have to intervene in this situation to resolve the issue.
Thank you very much, sir, for saying that as well, because ladies and gentlemen, no matter what happens, we are not going to kind of suffer through these genocides as well and these fascist behaviors taken by the Modi government and the Hindutva mindset which is still prevailing. So please, I think that it's for everybody, for each and every one of us to be united, not on just this day, but every single day of the year, because we are just like the way people are in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir as well. They are our brethren. They are the ones who we are, and we are the ones who they are.
Definitely. The transmission, of course, for this entire day is going to go on PTV World itself. You will be having all sorts of updates on that too. Just one thing, I think, having the freedom and access to internet services, living inside Pakistan, we should make the most use of it, and we should make loudest noises of the atrocities going on in the illegally occupied Kashmir, so that even the deaf can maybe one day try to hear. The deaf by choice, I'm saying.
Exactly, which is why, ladies and gentlemen, towards the end, we're actually going to leave you out with one of those examples where how life is in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Please go ahead, look after yourselves as well, and pray for all of those people being martyred and all of those people who are suffering, so that there is a day where they feel that freedom, they have their right to self-determination as well. Allah Hafiz.
Anxious looks, unwelcome settlers, empty streets and struggling markets. It is indeed a grim picture that Kashmir paints today. In August 1947, Indians and Pakistanis gained an independent homeland, finally free from subjugation by foreign colonizers. Yet 74 years after the independence, the nightmare of colonialism continues for Kashmiris. That too by none other than a state that itself was a victim of this injustice. It seems India's history as a victim of tyranny did not make it any kinder. India's siege of Kashmir mocks Kashmiris by taking away not only their freedom struggle, but also their special status. According to the World Freedom Report 2021, India ranked 27 out of 100 in the level of political rights and civil liberties in the country. Currently, in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, night curfew is imposed in all districts, and the maximum number of people permitted to attend any indoor or outdoor gathering is restricted to 25. These coronavirus restrictions serve as a good cover for restricting Kashmiris from gathering in large numbers after their states